Alright, so this video is going to go through section 3 of the 2017 paper, half yearly. Question 1, solve that. Okay, so I see fraction, and a number. So my common instinct, I think I'm just going to make this a fraction as well. So I'm going to make the 9 a fraction. So it's an invisible, 9 is invisibly over 1. Like every number is, so I need to multiply the 1 by 4 to make it 4, and multiply the top by 4. So x minus 3 over 2 equals 36 plus x over 4. Because they're both over 4, I just decided to combine them just to make it easier. Now I'm thinking this is over 2, this is over 4, so I can just multiply 4 to both sides to get rid of the 4 over here first. Yeah, so I'm thinking of timesing 4 to both sides and timesing 2 to both sides as well. So usually I would say cross multiply, so times 4 that way, times 2 this way. But if you don't understand that, then I'll just do it the slow way. So I'll just times 4 here, times 4 here. Yeah, so when I times 4 there, it gets rid of that 4. And then I have to times 4 to this side as a result of, as a result of that. And then also, I want to get rid of this 2 while I'm at it. I'm going to do 2 steps in 1. So I'm going to multiply 2 to get rid of the over 2 here. Because I do that, I need to multiply 2 over here. Okay, so what happens as a result of that? Alright, so it's the same as me timesing 4 that way and timesing 2 that way. So as I times 4, this 4 will cancel out with that 4. With divided by 4, and then because of times 2, this times 2 will cancel out with that divided by 2, and you'll realize that now this guy, the numerator only multiplies by 4, and this numerator only multiplies by 2, which is the same as me timesing 2 timesing 4. So that would be now 2 bracket x minus 3 equals 4 bracket, oh wait, I did it wrong, crap. It should be 4 bracket x minus 3 equals 36 plus x. Okay, so guys, usually I don't do this way. That's why I got a bit confused. I just legit take the 4 and multiply it that way, cross multiplying. I take the 2 and multiply it that way, just to makes it easier for me. I expand the brackets. So the reason why I wrote the number outside the brackets to show myself that I'm going to expand the 4 into every single term, because I sometimes can forget. 4x minus 12 equals 2 times 36 is 72, 2 times x. Yeah, now it's the easy part, so you just collect like terms. So move the letters, I'm going to move the letters to the left, push the numbers to the right. So I'm going to go this way. So it'll be 4x minus 2x equals 72 plus 12. So I've just moved that way, that way. 4x minus 2x is 2x. 72 is 4. X is 42. Okay, and you're welcome to substitute it back in here to check if that's right, but I'm not going to do that. Praying that I got it right. Okay, my next same thing. Okay, same thing. What do you mean same thing? I'm solving for x. So you can do the onion method, peel the onion. I know that I need to find x. That's the core of my onion. So the outer layer, if I draw my layer, it's going to be 11. That's the furthest thing from the x. So I'm going to minus 11. So negative x squared. Yeah, that minus belongs to the x squared, so it still stays there. Is negative 29 minus 11, which is, that doesn't look right. Anyway, equals negative 40. I'm going to divide both sides by minus to get rid of minus 1 to get rid of the minus sign, so x squared is 40. Now, to get rid of squared, we need to square root both sides. So square root here, square root there. So square root cancels out the square, so x is equal to, can't really square root 40 because it's not a square number. God, I feel like I've done something wrong. No, I don't think I have. Minus 29. Because they shouldn't give you... Yes, minus 40, alright. So then, yeah, plus minus, don't forget you got a plus minus because there's 2/3. I mean, what? Because you got a positive and a negative answer when you square root. Okay? And then I'm going to do my little trick. So I'm going to move that here. So x equals plus minus root 40. So that's the same as me saying 40 is the same as, I'm going to break up 40 into two numbers that make it up, that at least, not at least, that one of them is a square number. So 40, I can break it to 2 times 20. Yeah, because 2 times 20 is 40, but no, I can't square root any of them. But I can definitely do 4 times 10. 4 times 10 is equal to 40, so I've only rewritten, like changed the way it looked. The reason I did this is that so that I can simplify the surd. Now I'm going to write plus minus. Out of both of these numbers, I can only square root 4, and that's why I chose it. When I square root 4, I get 2. So I'm going to write 2 outside here. Then I'm going to write square root again and write 10. Because I square rooted the 4 comes outside now and it becomes 2. And I can't square root the 10, so I leave it there. So if I wanted to bring the 2 back in, the square root, I would just have to square it. So it'll be 2, and then when I square it and bring it back in, it becomes that. Okay, but the question isn't asking that, so yeah, funny question. Okay, so if this was a square number, something like 49, you would just do x equals plus minus 7. Solve the two equations below simultaneously. Alright, awesome. So straight away I look at the y's, I can eliminate them. I'm going to use elimination, not substitution. So it's plus 2y and minus 2y. So I need to choose either plus or minus to get rid of this. So it's plus 2, minus 2. The numbers are different, so I'm going to choose plus. I'm going to draw my line. 2y plus minus 2y, which becomes just 2y minus 2y, which is 0. Then I have to plus everything else. 5x plus 3x is 8x. 12 plus 4 is 16. X equals 2. Now that I've done that, I need to substitute it back in to find y, because there's 2 equations. If there's 2 equations, that means there's 2 answers. So I'm just going to label 1 and label 2. So I'm going to substitute x equals 2 into, so I'm going to write sub x equals 2 into number 2. So now I'm left with, so I put, instead of x, I'm going to write 2. So 3 times 2 minus 2y equals 4. So 3 times 2 is 6, minus 2y is 4. Just solve it now. Minus 2y equals minus 6 minus 6. Minus 2. Y equals 1. So apologize about that formatting. Okay, so I just underline my 2 answers. Area of a trapezium is given by that. Find, make B the subject. Okay, so you can do the onion thing. B is going to be, it's like you're solving for B, you're solving for B. Now I'm going to make B by itself. So really, I'm moving everything away from B. Okay, so first thing I'm going to get rid of is h over 2. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to times 2 to both sides. That gets rid of the over 2 part. So it'll be 2a equals 2 times this 2, cancels out, h bracket a plus b. Next thing I'm going to get rid of is the h. H is connected by a time, so if I divide both sides by h, yeah, so I'm just going to write 2a over h equals a plus b. And the bracket's gone now. I mean, you can sort of do the bracket, but there's no number outside. There's a divisible 1. Last thing I need to get rid of is the a. So there's an invisible plus in front of this a, so I need to minus a both sides. So minus a here, minus a here. And minus a will cancel that, plus a. So then b equals 2a over h minus a. Alright, next question. Question 4. Question 4. I realized the cube didn't have any letters on it, so I just added the letters in myself. What I think the question would have been. So A is there, B, C, D, and E, F, G, H. First question, find the length of GD. So that's going to be. So if you want to give it a go, just pause the video and then you can just look, play it again when you want to see the solutions. So GD would be this line here. The cube has a side length of 8. That means all the sides will be 8 centimeters. So 8 centimeters here, 8 centimeters there, and 8 centimeters there. Okay, so the cube, we know, the square, has a right angle. So really, I've got a right angle that has 8, 8, and I'm trying to find GD. Yeah, so I can just use Pythagoras. So GD squared equals 8 squared plus 8 squared. GD squared equals 8 squared plus 8 squared is 128. GD is equal to square root of 128. And yes, when you square root, you get the positive and negative answer. But because we're dealing with, what we're dealing with length, you can't have a negative length. So I'm just going to write square root of 128. Yeah, and you're welcome to just square root it. Yeah, 11.3. For the next part, which we're going to talk about, so sorry, that's 11.3 centimeters. I'm going to leave, I like leaving my answers in exact form, so I'm just going to do that. Square root of 128. Hence, find the length of ED. So ED becomes, there's another line that starts from this corner. It's like there. It might be hard to see, so now we're going to use this square here. Okay, so if I draw it larger, it's the square, we use the diagonal here, and then there's another diagonal from E to D. So I'm going to draw the triangle out. So that triangle is a right angle here. Yeah, because it's a cube, right? It would be not right angle. And then we have GD, which is that length from here to here, will be, I'm going to write square root of 128. Just I want to be in an exact form. And this length here is going to be 8. And I will have ED. So I want to find ED because that's the question. I'm assuming that's what it would have been. So once again, Pythagoras. So ED squared equals 8 squared plus root 128 squared. And this is why I left it as exact form, because if I so when I do this, it'll be 64 plus the square and the square root cancel out, and it becomes 128. Yeah, so you can put in your calculator. Just square it. See, it becomes 128. But if I use the 11.3, which I rounded off before, and I square it, because I would have got 127.69. So that's why I don't like rounding, because when you round early, your answer gets further away from the actual answer. So 64 plus 128, 192. What's 192? 192, yep. So now I just want ED, which is square root of 192. 13.9. And it doesn't even tell you what to leave in decimal places or not. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change root 128 and root 192 into their simplest form. We haven't done that in class, but I mean, I might as well just show you how it goes. So root 192, I don't know what my factors of 192, so I'm going to use my calculator to help me. So I'm going to start with the first square number I know. 192, I'm going to divide it by 2 squared, which is 4. Yeah, and you get 48. Okay, but I want to go for a higher number, because I think 48 can be split up once again. 9, nope, 16 and 12, but I think it can go higher. 16, 25, 36, 49, 64. Yes, perfect. 64 and 3. Okay, so ED equals, so I'm going from this line here. Square root, ED equals square root of 64 times 3. 64 times 3, and then I can square root 64, right? Because it's a square number. Square root of 64 is 8, and the 3 you can't square root it, so we leave it in there. Don't forget to write centimeters. Give root 128 a go, and just pause the video and just give it a go. So just do it up here. So root 128, so GD equals square root of, so 128, I'm going to do it again. 128 divided by 1 squared is 1, so I'm not going to bother doing that. 2 squared, which is 4, and I get 32. Okay, 32 is fine, but then I can break up to 32 again. But that's why I want to choose the highest number I can. 9, 16, 8, I can break up 8 into 4 and 2, so I want to choose the highest, 25. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do this way. I'll show you why I don't want to do this way. So 16 times 8. So square root of 16 is 4. And then you realize, wait, 8, I can break it down again. I can simplify it further. 8 is just 4 times 2. And then I can square root the 4 and bring it out, it becomes a 2. I leave this 2 inside there, because I bring this out, it becomes a 2. There's an invisible times here. 4 times 2 is 8. Becomes 8 root 2, okay? So really the best combination would have been 128 divided by 64. Oh, yeah, obviously 64, jeez. Well, 64 times 2. Square root of 64 is 8. And then root 2 stays the same there. That's the same as that. Okay? You will learn that eventually, but I thought, I figured you guys are capable of doing that now anyway, if you did want to use it. Okay, so scroll back up. That's it.